24, another correction, okay. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Madam Chairperson?
Yes.
I'd like to officially welcome our new member of the Board of Zoning Appeals, Mr. Dan Faulkner, right? He is replacing Victor Lopez, who has gone on to bigger and better things.
Oh, what could be better?
Oh, geez, come on.
And actually, I think we're all going to miss Victor. Victor was here for a short time, but was, a very good member. For those that don't know, Mr. Faulkner is the son of our former attorney that we had, Alan Faulkner, that was for the board back in...
BZA in the brand?
Well, it was for Plan Commission and BZA, and, back in the 90s and the early 2000s. So, yeah, Alan was with us for quite some time.
I'm sure Dan will be just as great as his dad.
So you have a lot to measure up to.
Oh, gosh.
Throw that out.
He does.
I've heard a lot.
And his dad retired, and so did his mom. All right, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Roger Rod,
Here.
William Clinton,
Here.
Cynthia Hassel,
Here.
Dan Faulkner,
Here.
Kathleen Hill,
Here.
5 present, we have a quorum.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is, there is a correction, is for the approval of the minutes for May 29th, 2024. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second.
And could we have a roll call vote?
Roger Rod,
Yes.
William Clinton,
Yes.
Cynthia Hassel,
Yes.
Dan Faulkner,
Yes.
Kathleen Hill,
Yes?
5 ayes, 0 nays, motion passed.
Okay, do we have any old business?
No, we do not have any old business.
Okay, we have new business, D-24-09, petition of NH Vega LLC for a modification of an existing conditional use, which was Z-23-04, regarding Title 10, Section 10.11, Parens 3, to allow an automobile fueling station in a C4 General Commercial District located at 1051 to 1053 Indianapolis Boulevard in the city of Hammond. Have all notification requirements been met?
Yes, they have.
Okay. Petitioner's ready. Would you please state your name and address?
Good evening. I'm Dan Tersman. My address is 3592 North Hobart Road, Hobart, Indiana. I'm here tonight on behalf of NH Vegas and the Luke family of brands, requesting an amendment or a change to the conditional use that was granted about a little over a year ago for the property at, 1051 and 1053 Indianapolis Boulevard. At that time, we had presented a plan to basically, there's an existing convenience store, Luke gas station at that site currently. We had presented a plan to essentially demolish that, the existing convenience store gas station and build a new gas station as well as an additional multi-tenant retail building. And so at that time, we had gone through the process of subdividing the property to create the 2 individual parcels for the 2 different businesses, and along with that, granted some easements and some other, access easements, utility easements, and so forth. That project had just due to just costs and other reasons, was delayed, and eventually the project was abandoned. And we would now like to just essentially build just the gas station and are no longer looking to do the multi-tenant building. So through that process, we've redesigned the site to better utilize the area and have better ingress, egress, stacking, access to the pumps, site circulation, and everything. With that, then we have gone through the process with the Plan Commission to basically re-subdivide the property to revert back to a single lot and to vacate the easements that were granted at that time. And so what we're asking here, we did go through with Z 2304, we were granted approval for special use, or special exception use for the convenience store gas station. And so, but that was based on the legal description that was with that previous plat. So what we're asking for is an amendment to that, to the use approval to apply to the new legal description with the newly approved plat. I don't know if you would like me to kind of go through if it would help to go through the proposed findings of facts, or if that's something that you want to present with this staff, or?
If I may, I want to just make a correction.
Okay.
In what you just said, you referred to special use, special exception. It's actually, was conditional use.
Conditional use, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Understandable. Not only is the modification for changing the legal description, the modification is also to make sure that the new site plan, development plan is compliant with all other zoning provisions. So that would, therefore, you should just talk about that.
Sure. So as far as the compliance and zoning and that we have, the site design is laid out to essentially meet all of the city standards for gas stations, convenience stores, with adequate spacing and stacking for the cars. We would be, in compliance with all the zoning requirements within the zoning district, and again as well as meeting all the requirements for a convenience store.
And then for clarity, again, the similarity between the previous approval and this approval is the reduction of the number of pump islands.
Yes. So we have on this new layout, so existing gas station has 12 pumps, a large canopy, kind of, just a lot of just outdated equipment, maintenance issues. So this new site will reduce the number of pumps, reduce the size of the canopy, have a completely new building, all state-of-the-art technology as far as the underground storage tanks and fuel equipment. So that'll improve the environmental standards, meeting all current environmental standards. The convenience store will be our standard Luke prototype design, which is a clean contemporary look, which I think will be all masonry structure, which will be very much in keeping with the surrounding businesses and the design aesthetic that was created in the nearby PUD district of the Marina District development.
Any questions from board members?
I do. Thank you. Who should I address him to, Mr. Poland?
I would address that to him first.
Is there a drive-through?
No
Provision.
drive-through, no.
Mr. Poland, my question to you is, the conditional use, special use, whatever it is, does that stay with the property or is that with the owner?
All of our approvals are with the property.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? I have a few. You will be covering landscaping and far as improvements for that, correct?
Yes, correct. So we would be, again, this is what we're requesting is the approval of the use. So we would still need to meet all the zoning, requirements in that as far, in order to get, site plan approval and building permits. So it would be our intent to meet those requirements. So we're not asking for a variance or any variances or anything
With the
of that sort.
underground tanks and that, is that basically a new upgrade on all of that, where the containment of anything will be taken care of and all that?
Yes, so the tanks that are in the ground are currently, they're code compliant, they were code compliant at the time. There's no leaks present or anything like that, so there are no, current imminent dangers or anything like that. But, it's just older technology, so they're single-wall fiberglass tanks. The new technology is double-wall fiberglass tanks, and so there's what they call an interstitial layer that basically can be monitored. So if there were any leak, there's basically a secondary layer of protection to contain that leak so it would never get into the groundwater system, and that interstitial layer then can be monitored. And so if there were ever any kind of, damage or leak, you would know before it would ever, cause contamination. So that's a newer technology that's come out that would be what is installed in this, as well as all the fuel supply lines that go from the tanks then to the dispensers. Those are also contained within, a containment system that, so again, if there ever were any issues or leaks and fittings or anything like that, those would be detected and contained immediately.
That would be immediately detected
Exactly.
within the business itself then?
Exactly. So it's an added safety feature that is now available that wasn't at the time when the original tanks were installed.
Now, is there any improvement in regard to as far as trash or dumpsters or anything like that?
So I can't honestly recall exactly what's at the current site, but I can tell you on the new site, it'll be an all masonry enclosure. So the design of the enclosure will be utilizing the same building materials as the building itself. So it'll be an all masonry enclosure with steel doors, and that's kind of located to the side rear of the building. So it's not a highly visible spot, and so yes, it certainly meets the zoning ordinance, or it exceeds the requirements of the zoning ordinance.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? All right, we are ready for anybody in the public would like to speak for or against this project? Anyone in the audience? All right, then, yes,
Anyone online?
pardon?
Ask anyone online,
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see anybody online except the,
but ask anyone.
okay, we have, it looks like maybe 2 people online.
Just ask if anybody online.
Anybody online that would like to speak for or against? Mr. Novak, are you getting any response from anyone?
Kathy,
Okay.
now you have to close public.
All right, then we will, no, I was just asking if he was noticing it.
Nobody
Okay.
said.
All right, thank you. Then we will close this period of public expression. And do the board members have any other questions or any questions at this time? Then we will go into.
Staff has some points
Oh.
that we need to bring out.
The staff has questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
to bring
not
the
on our agenda.
attention of the petitioner and the board, comments that we are making in our staff report that I want to bring out. We talked about, or the report is going to talks about the location of the 3 parking spaces that are along Indianapolis Boulevard. You need those 3 spaces in order to meet your minimum requirements. but the location of those spaces are in essentially way too far away from the building, where I'm not sure if they really serve any useful purpose. We had suggested in the staff report that they could be relocated to one of two locations on the northerly side of the property, to the north of the pump islands. There may be a place there that those three parallel spaces could be relocated. If not, where the three perpendicular spaces are to the north side of the building are directly opposite of that location into that landscaped area. The other comment to make, excuse me, for the board and everybody's understanding, this property is located in the Marina Redevelopment District. This property is on a major street. And looking at the elevations of the building, the Indianapolis Boulevard side, you have a change of materials that goes from the brick that faces easterly to concrete block. In essence, it's on the street-facing side. So we're concerned about the use of a lesser material facing the public street, and are recommending that that material be changed to the brick that matches the easterly facing side. There's another provision in the zoning ordinance that talks about the street-facing facade has to have a certain amount of fenestration, equal to 5% of that wall surface. If you may recall, when we were discussing the upgraded station on Indianapolis Boulevard at 173rd Street, we had a lot of discussion about they were introducing actually windows that you could view out. We discussed, in that particular case, there were some shelving units and other things that basically blocked those windows. And we had this whole discussion about how the floor plan would have been revised in order to make sure that those windows were not blocked. We also discussed that the second set of windows, which basically backed up to, I believe, the freezer units, that a faux window would be put there. So in that particular facade, then you have a symmetrical facade, two sets of windows, one real, so to speak, and one faux with some type of dark glass of some kind that would, you wouldn't view through, but it would still have the framework as if it was a window. And so that is one of the things that I've talked about in the staff report, that's what we'd like to, to be comparable to what we've just recently approved, to have those two changes made to the design of the building and then the parking space relocation that I talked about.
Yeah, and we have no objection to that, so certainly we can revise that side elevation to utilize the brick material that's currently used in the front, and then provide spandrel glass on the facade of that street facing facade to meet that requirement. And we'll work with staff on that and present options to get through that if that's acceptable.
I have a question with the staff. I know as far as parking for a convenience store, you want it as close as possible, but are they required to have these spaces that close to the convenience store, or can a customer walk the distance if they want to go into the convenience store?
Well, I mean, for all practical purposes, unfortunately, in this day and age, people don't like to walk very far from their parking space to get into a building. So that is really more of the practical reality that you do have your parking spaces as close to the primary entrance. That's just, convention, I suppose, if you want to call
But
it
it's
that.
not required, so if people want to do steps, they can walk.
I'm saying that I've already stated that the staff recommendation is those spaces are to be moved to one of the two locations.
Okay.
That being said, with Mr. Tersman's concurrence with the, working out the recommendation, or working with us for the recommendations, I appreciate the fact that, you were ready to do the findings of fact, and I kind of stopped you on that.
That's okay.
But we'll just take, because it's in your cover letter, correct?
Yes, yes.
So it's already in the record in that sense. Therefore, staff recommendation is that staff has reviewed the petitioner's request and recommends that the
Do we have a motion to
Oh, I'm
have
sorry.
the staff report read? We're taking care of it?
Sure, I thought I was already there, but okay,
Well, I think you stopped this for your question or comment.
okay, no
All right.
problem.
Could we request that the staff report be presented and any recommendations? Okay. Are you doing the staff report, Mr. Poland?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
All right, staff has reviewed the petitioner's request and recommends that the BZA grant the modification of the conditional use should the board feel the petitioner has met the standards subject to 1, finalization and recording of the new subdivision plat, 2, technical review and final approval of the site and building plans by city staff, including but not limited to the ADA spaces, compliance with the ADA guidelines, relocation of the 3 spaces, and the facade fenestration and materials. 3, the submittal and final approval of the photometric plan. 4, the confirmatory review by HDEM for the oil water separator and the emergency response plan. 5, no outdoor displays of tires nor any other wares to be allowed. And then I'm going to amend that by saying that the spandrel glass should not be used as a place for signage. And then 6, compliance with Hammond City Code, Chapters 94, 97, 98, 101, 132, 150, and 160, in particular sections enforcing litter, junk, trash receptacles, snow removal, and the harboring of a public nuisance as to maintain a sanitary, safe, and aesthetically pleasing property.
All right, we have some proposed findings of fact that have been presented to us. Do any members of the board have any additions or amendments to the findings of fact that's prepared by the staff?
I might not, but I would
You
like,
might.
I would like to ask a couple of questions. Can I do that?
We'll
The-
whether we
It's
can, I
up to-
don't know.
the chair has asked for the findings of fact, and now you're asking to do something else. It's at her discretion.
I said I have no problem. Do any other members have a problem?
I wanted to ask him before you talked about the findings of fact, but
Okay.
I was,
So you have questions in regard to the findings of fact?
no, I don't have questions regarding the findings of fact. I have questions regarding the drawings that I'm looking at.
Okay.
When I look at the floor plan, when I look at the floor plan, I don't see a north arrow, so I'm not sure which way is north. And when I look at your elevations, the left elevation, the right elevation, I'm not sure what that means. So maybe you can work on that.
Do you have questions in regard to the picture?
It's really not a question, it's really a statement.
Okay.
So basically you want clarification of the drawings and accurate depiction of north, south, east,
Some of
west.
some of my colleagues might not get it, I get it, but I'm just trying to help my friends.
Okay.
Thank you very much for listening, I appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay, would you like the clarifications now? We
No.
will be glad to give them to you.
Nope, thank you.
Right. Do you have any,
You'll
does
take care
anybody,
of it then.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yep.
does anybody have any questions, concerns, or adjustments, or recommendations for the staff proposed findings of fact? Okay, do we have a motion to adopt the staff report?
As amended.
Pardon?
As amended.
As amended. I was ready to read that. as amended and the proposed findings of fact as presented to, at this time?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Cynthia Hassel,
Yes.
Dan Faulkner,
Yes.
Roger Brock,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Kathleen Hill,
Yes?
5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Do we have a motion in regard to Z-24-09 for a modification of the conditional use in Z-23-04?
I'll make the motion to approve as long as the petitioner does the 6 standards provided in the staff report.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Cynthia Hassel,
Yes.
Dan Faulkner,
Yes.
Roger Brock,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Kathleen Hill,
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. When you going to start?
Well, we'd like to start as soon as possible. Obviously, we have a couple of things to take care of, and to, we have to wrap up the plat, get everything recorded with that, so.
And so you will be meeting with the board, with the staff in regard to any changes or
That's correct.
recommendations?
Yeah, so most likely at this point of the year, we'll probably start first thing, in the spring, as early as possible in the spring, and
Depends on the weather.
yeah, exactly.
If I would like to ask a question. So just by the way this is oriented, are you going to demolish the current building first, or,
That would be, yes, that would be the plan, yes,
okay, so the station will be shut down for a period of time?
yes.
Okay.
Any idea how long you would have to shut down the station?
Well, a typical construction sequence for this size of a project, I would say it's probably going to be about a 6-month process from when we would have the, have the site shut down to when we would be able to open up. So that would be at a minimum, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet, thank you, thanks.
Now we have Z-24-10, petition of Gatehouse Hammond LLC for conditional use regarding Title 3, Section 3.11, parens 1, via Title 2, Section 2.11, parens 5, to allow a community residence in a R1U urban single-family residential district located at 6923 through 6931 Marshall Avenue in the city of Hammond. Have all the requirements been met?
Yes, they have.
Good evening, Board. I'm Dan Kozlowski. I'm the pro bono attorney for the petitioner. That's here tonight, Gatehouse Hammond.
Can we have your address, please?
I'm sorry?
Your address, too?
Address is 8721 Shetland Lane, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
And this is on petition Z-24-10. We're asking for conditional use for a community residence. Up to 24, we're looking for a residence, a conversion of an abandoned church to be able to house up to 24 women who are recovering from addiction. The church has been abandoned, we think, for about 15 years. In a lot of respects, we got lucky on the design. I think you guys have the design. Our designer is here. I'm going to introduce the folks I'm with for questions. But all the work that would have to be done to convert the church is all on the inside, is all interior, very little on the outside, other than compliance with ADA, which Mr. Poland had brought up. With me today is the Executive Director of Gatehouse Hammond, Leslie McCormick, who I'm going to introduce in a second. Bruce Kajawa, our designer, and you see his work in your packets over here. Here's Bruce, who will answer questions. And also Ron Shabai, who's a treasurer and a board member on Gatehouse Hammond. We've had the chance to review the staff comments that came out. We agree with all of those, and we will comply with all of the conditions for approval that the staff has put in, including parking, which with the 24 residents, keep in mind, very few of them will have privately owned vehicles. They're here for a short period of time This facility is to assist in their recovery. And so by our policy, there should be no more than about 6 vehicles that will be there. Sometimes guests will show up. The parking lot, which will be configured to have, I believe it's 21 spaces. I know it said 19. Is 21 right? Or is it 22? Will be more than adequate with the rules on parking. The landscaping, the requirements for the landscaping will comply with all of those. There's some problems with the fence, and there's some overgrown, as you might expect, some overgrown weeds and vegetation in the area. But we feel, and our request is that Hammond see this as an opportunity to take a chance on an organization that's been in business for a while. In this particular business, they've got the experience to help those in our society who are recovering from addiction. When there are violations, and I know people tend to be concerned about a house like this, but when there are violations of the rules, of which there are many, then those individuals will not stay. And so we feel that from a standpoint of security and efficiency and an asset for the community, we hope that you'll approve our recommendation, our petition. To tell you a little bit more about the organization and the vision for this particular building, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Leslie McCormick, who's going to talk a little bit about those issues.
Hi, my name's Leslie McCormick. I'm the co-founder and director of the Gatehouse Hammond. The
I'm
vision,
going to interrupt you first.
Sure.
Sign in and put your address down, state your address.
No, the sheet, I think, is at
It's on the other side of the podium.
Yeah, just make sure.
And
And
Mr.
anyone else who will be speaking, please sign in and give us your address.
Yeah, Mr. Kozlowski, you need to sign in also. All right. It's a little awkward when we have 2 podiums.
okay.
I got it. Go ahead.
Sorry for the interruption.
No problem. The vision that we had for the Gatehouse was that there are women coming out of incarceration, out of recovery, like Regional Mental Health, Recovery Works, St. Margaret Dyer. They're coming out of here and they have no place to go. No place that they can continue to work on their recovery. A lot of people need to go back home to their families, and nowadays some of their families are also the problem. They are stuck in addiction themselves. So where do you go when you want to continue to live clean and the people that are there to support you are not clean? So we get a lot of girls coming out of rehab or incarceration that want to continue on this path of recovery. And a lot of them don't know how to live life without a substance. A lot of them didn't have a mother that showed them how to live life without a substance if they themselves were addicted. So sober living is exactly what it means. It's sober living. They learn to get up in the morning, make their beds, have a schedule, have a job, be responsible for their bills, be responsible for visiting with their children. A lot of the girls come in with DCFS cases, and so they're trying to get their children back. We don't say you should have your child back. We say that you should work hard to get your child back because our children are innocent in the addiction area. So a lot of these girls, they have to jump through the hoops. They have to be able to pass drug tests, hold employment, go to visit their children as specified, do drug drops, and then only then are they allowed to have community visits. And what we were hoping for with a bigger building was to have a nice, safe, large area where the children could come and play when they come to visit their mom. You know, because the houses that we are in now are just homes, and so in order to visit with your child, it's either the living room or a yard, and some of these houses don't have a large yard, so the child is confined to this little space. We wanted to be able to have women that were pregnant. We have had requests from women who are pregnant that don't want to give birth and not be clean because they will take their children from them. We don't have the space for that because a woman and child takes up the room of 2 people, of 2 residents. So in order to give up a whole residence for a baby and a mom, we'd need to lower our overhead. And a bigger building would allow us to do that we would be able to take in a pregnant woman, see her through the pregnancy, into birth, and then into it like at least a year, that the child would be able to stay with her for up to a year until she's got substantial sobriety to go out into the world and support her child. These are big things. I know they don't seem like a lot to people that are already doing it, but for the person who's recovering, it is a big deal. We're so used to asking for help, asking our parents, asking anybody for money. The big deal for us is we don't allow them to ask their parents for money. They're allowed to have assistance for that first month, and after that, they need to have gainful employment. They need to be able to pay their fees and be self-supporting through their own contributions. And that's why a lot of them, when they come in, don't have a driver's license, much less a car. And those are the things that we're working toward, is for them to be able to be mobile eventually. And also, if they haven't finished high school, we encourage them to get their GED and then to go on to either Ivy Tech or some sort of college, because minimum wage is not going to support a single mom and her child. So those are our vision, those are our plans, what we want for the community, for these girls that are coming in. And a lot of them are local. There are local girls from Northwest Indiana.
Subject to your questions, and again, we've got our designer is here as well, or questions for Leslie or questions regarding the commitments. Subject to your questions, that concludes our presentation.
Okay. Board members have any questions? Mr.
I'm
Hammond.
sorry, thank you. The ages of the girls?
The typical ages of a girl in recovery is between mid-30s to early 50s. So at this time, we have about 4 women who are in their 50s. A lot more of them are 45 to 50. 35 seems to be the average age that a girl is coming in, and very few 20-year-olds. The youngest we had was 19, and that was our mom that came in that was 7 months pregnant, but she is now 21 and doing well, so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
A follow-up.
Okay, you mentioned as far as there is no staff present at night.
At night, but we have our senior residents, the girls that have been in the house. We have several girls that have no place to go after finishing the program. So some of our ladies have been with us up to 5 years. Their family is gone. One of our ladies is going blind. She has a congenital defect. And so she's on property. She is a senior resident. She is like a house mother. She makes sure that the girls are in at curfew, make sure that their chores are done. The only thing is that she doesn't drive. So this way, this solves 2 things. She's not alone. She doesn't need to go into assisted living. And so she's able to be there for the girls, make sure that dinner's made, make sure that the rules are followed. That's what we deal with as senior residents. It is like peer support. But Denise and I, who's my partner, we are there every day. These girls see us in meetings, they see us at the house. I think they cringe when they see us coming, but they see us every day. And we are kind of like mom and dad, they equate it, so.
So that is 7 days a week then too, that you were in there.
Yeah, so and the building being closer to where we live, we would be able to be there in a matter of minutes. Being now that there's the house in North Hammond and the one in Wildwood, I usually have to jump on 90 and book it through there. But this way, they're just one exit away from me, and they're just down the street from Denise. And so we can be there in a matter of seconds when they have a problem. But luckily, over the past 6 years, we have not had a problem that we needed to be there in a split second.
Have you ever had any more than, I think you were requesting 24 residents?
No, the most we've ever had was 18. And that is us being completely full and not having any more space.
Do they find you, or do the judges, do the other places recommend that they go to you, or they assign to you, or how does that work?
We have a working relationship with Regional Mental Health, also the Hammond Drug Court. And so Judge Sasha, and she will recommend somebody to us if she believes that these are people that really want to get sober. And so we will take them in. With no guarantees, we let her know that if they do not want to be sober, she'll be the first one to know, because they usually last about a week. But yeah, we get them from Regional Mental Health, Kimbrough Work Release, Lake County Jail, and these are coming through recommendations of people that work there. So there are people that are in charge.
Are you also going to be utilizing them to help maintain the property, pull weeds and do things like that?
The girls?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, like,
There
keep
are chores in the house, and they rotate so that they each have an opportunity to do a different chore. Because like we tell them, when you have your own home, you're not going to have somebody to call to come and do this. So they need to learn how to do it by themselves.
Any other, Mr. Faulkner?
So you mentioned this is short-term, right?
Short-term in that it's not for life. The minimum requirement is 6 months. They need to make a minimum commitment of 6 months. It takes that long for us to start thinking straight. Once you get the drugs and the alcohol out of the body, we're still not thinking quite right. They'll come in, they know they've made a commitment of 6 months. After the 6 months is up, a lot of them will say, you know what, I need to stay a little bit longer. They can stay up to 2 years. But in order to stay that long, they need to be doing really well, working with a sponsor, working steps, and doing everything they're supposed to be doing.
And just one follow-up, Attorney Kozlowski, you mentioned that there was a lot of rule violations. So,
Well, I think you misunderstood. I said there are a lot of rules in the
Okay.
in the book. So compliance with the rules is an essential part of their being able to stay in the program.
Right.
Would that be correct? Yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
I
that's
may
fine.
have said that. I didn't mean that.
So for like chronic offenders or people that are evicted from the
Yeah.
program, is there like a network of support resources for those people to then go to? Or where do they end up?
If they
So, unfortunately, no, there isn't. And people that are coming in and they're court ordered, they're usually going to go back to jail. And I don't have a problem with that. In fact, when they are court ordered, it's a lot easier for me because I have something to say, listen, if you don't comply, it's either here or it's Lake County Jail. And this is a lot nicer, right? But the rules are about the same. There's curfews and there's things that are expected of them. But unfortunately, when a girl makes a decision to leave because of a boyfriend or because she thinks that she can do this all by herself, they have a tendency to die. And we know that. We know what awaits them when they leave our house. Unfortunately, that's their choice. Because if you choose to break the rules, you've then made a choice to leave the house. And they know the consequences of making that. Now, it's double-sided. We had a girl that just passed away on the 15th. She left the house about 2 months ago and has since passed away. It works like a double-edged sword. I'm sorry for the loss of Sammy, but the girls see that because they were friends with her, they shared a room with her, and they see what happens when you leave the safety of the house and you're not ready. They also have the benefit of seeing girls that have left the house after 24 months. They get their children back, they have their own place, and they're being self-supporting. So they see both sides. They see women who are successful when they follow the rules, and then they see what happens when you break the rules, that the consequences are swift and sometimes not very pleasant.
How long have you been doing this?
Pardon me?
How long have you been doing this?
6 years. Yes.
So you've seen a lot of good cases and bad cases.
So I've been in recovery for 16 years, and I've only been working with other girls in the recovery home, but I've used to go into Kimbrough and work with the girls there. And so, yes, I have seen a lot of girls that have made the choice to go back out, and I have been to a lot of funerals. And it's very difficult because a lot of them are so young, and they leave behind children who are then now being raised by their grandparents. So it is a burden on everybody when an addict or an alcoholic decide to go back out. Yeah. Okay.
Staff has some questions.
Yes.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. Just to clarify, I know it was stated that the average age was 35, but I think the important and I think you said you had someone who was 19. But just for clarity in the records, you are only taking adults of legal age, which would be 18 and older. So you're not taking children.
the children are from the...
Well, except for, well,
Yeah,
children
well,
of...
That's
coming to
correct.
visit, right.
Non-adults are not qualified to stay there. That is
Okay.
correct.
And then Attorney Kozlowski, just, it was something that she said, we had discussed and established, it's not the Hammond Drug Court, it is
That's
the
right.
drug court that is at the Lake County office on Russell Street, so it's not Hammond as far as City of Hammond.
Yes, sir, right. Habits die hard, so that was the old terminology, but that's correct. I think we've got the right terminology in your report, so as far as the referral, that's correct.
Okay, Chair, Madam Chair, there's a
I do
question.
have one
Yeah.
clarifying question. So this is only women eligible are 18 and over. But in the case of this 19-year-old, she had a child who then resided at the home.
Well,
Is that-
she resided at the home before the child was born. She came in 7 months pregnant, and that commitment of 6 months, and plus her husband was on probation, and because he was a felon, she couldn't be with him at the time. He wasn't allowed to have anybody in the house. So she wasn't allowed to go back with him. So what she did was she stayed with us in order to get sober until he decided to join a program. I believe he has since joined a program in Delphi, and he and she are both still sober. But she wasn't going to go back until he was trying to work a program. The whole point was that she was using during her pregnancy, and she was told that if the baby was born addicted, that they would take the baby away from her. So she came back to us because she had been with us before and had gone to jail. So this time she came back 7 months pregnant. She gave birth, and we allowed her to stay with the baby because it wasn't safe for her to go home as of yet.
So children who are born will be able to stay.
Right. I mean, we would like to take women who are pregnant because it's very difficult. They don't have any place to go. They need to be monitored, and they need to stay clean. And so if we have them, I mean, we have one room set aside for a woman and child because it is a big responsibility. And, it takes a village to raise a child. And if you could see our little Gabriel, he was raised with 18 moms, grabbing him up and picking him up and taking care of him. And in the meantime, we taught her what it was expected of a mom, because a lot of them don't have their own moms, or they weren't raised that way. They were raised in the system. A lot of them went to girls' school before they got to be, a certain age. So they do look up to us more like parents. We teach them everyday living, bank accounts. You would think that would be a no-brainer. They don't. They don't have bank accounts. They have Wisely cards. They don't have any of the things that correspond with being an adult. So teaching someone to be a mom is a big deal because now she's on her second little boy. She's pregnant again, and everything is going fine. So, I mean, that's a win. We're going to mark it as a win on our side.
Yeah, so it's safe to say the only exception to the child rule would be newborns for a certain period of time.
Right.
Okay.
For a certain, because there is a place near South Bend, I believe, that has a place for women and children, and that would be our first choice. But if it's a situation that they're still pregnant and they want to give birth clean, we would take them in. But the ideal would be for them to go to the place that deals with moms and children.
And not to belabor this point any further, but I'm going to assume that someone 17 and younger who has an addiction has different options to help them get through recovery?
Well, they're still minors, so their parents can still force them into rehab, and there are places for teenagers. There are mental wards and there are drug units for teenagers. It's once we get past that legal age that they kind of let you go on your own. Your parents no longer have a say in what you do, and so, yeah, we take adults.
Okay.
So do some of the I still can call them children, they're children to me, but do some of them assign themselves to you? Can they, or does they have to come through the court or for mental health?
Well, sometimes when you get a phone call from somebody that needs help, and we always recommend that they go to detox first, so we recommend that they go to St. Margaret Dyer. After they do the 3 to 4 days in detox, then St. Margaret Dyer would probably send them to regional mental health if they have a bed available. We prefer that they be detoxed. We don't have a facility to detox them. It's in their best interest medically to be detoxed and to have it out of their system, because we're sober living, and you can't start learning how to live if you're still shaking and barely holding food down. So we try to get them preferably at 28 days after program, because now they've had enough time to get it out of their system. They've gotten a little bit of sleep, they're eating a little bit better, and they feel better. And so then they're ready to make a decision, an educated decision, right, as to what they're getting into. Because this isn't something that, it's not housing. They have to make a commitment that they're going to do this work, that they are going to do everything in their power to stay sober, that they're going to go to meetings, they're going to meet with a sponsor, they're going to get a job, and that they're going to follow the rules. You know, because even an eye roll to me is, not following the rules, and they're eye rollers from way back. So yeah, they have to make a commitment. We give them the first 30 days to make that decision. Your 6 months doesn't start until after the first 30 days, because we give them the opportunity to back out, and it also gives us the opportunity to say, I don't think you're ready. You're not quite ready, because you're still trying to dive and jive around with the rules. And that's not, it affects the girls that are here trying to get sober.
Any other questions?
I do. I've been involved in projects like this. This is a good thing. Keep doing it,
Thank you.
please. And it takes big people with big hearts.
And you have one.
Don't,
He has one.
oh, yes, yeah, I believe she does, yes. So, with that being said, thank you.
Thank you.
And that being said, Mr. Poland, I'd like to ask the question that this particular project will be submitted to the State Department of Homeland Security for design release. It'll also be submitted to the Board of Health for their review and their release. Is that correct?
I believe that's normal procedure, and that would be handled through the inspections department.
Okay. Those two departments paramount to protect your residents.
Right.
Please.
Our designer is in compliance with that, so believes that's the same, the correct requirement.
Yeah, the understanding is right now what's been presented at the board are preliminary plans showing how it's
That's
going to be
right.
laid out and things.
That's
but
right.
You're going to work with Bruce to
Right.
finalize them and send them downstate
That's right.
to our departments and all that.
Right.
Okay.
I have
The
another
reason-
question. Are you purchasing this old church, or are you renting, or what?
We are, right now, we're under contract contingent upon receiving proper zoning for this project. So it's been pending for some time, and the plan is, if we get proper zoning, then we'll purchase the property and start to work as soon as we can.
They have provided the appropriate documents that they are a contingent purchaser and authorization from the current property owner.
Mr. Poland, the reason I asked that question is because when we look at the recommendation,
If you're going to question the staff report, wait till the staff report is presented.
I did that last time.
Yep,
All right, fine. Jeez.
because we have to do public comment.
Yes, we do. Are we ready for public comment? Do we have anybody in the public that would like to speak for or against? We have a man back there. Would you like to come forward, state your name and address, and make your comment?
Hello, my name is Kid Bastasic. I live at 6922 Marshall Avenue, right across the street. We've been living, my wife and I, for 33 years. And I'm so happy that something's going to happen with this church. I don't know why it's considered a church, because it's been abandoned for 20 years. There's been so many code violations without permits, so for over 20 years, it's abandoned. And I don't understand, this guy that supposedly has the church, back in 2005, he went to prison for 3 years for welfare fraud, using the church, $127,000 in restitution. That's 2005. It's been nothing going on there. But that's his character. He doesn't care. But the thing I have a question is, it's considered a church. It's just an abandoned building. So how can he, all these years, to be tax exempt? Nothing going on, no activities, nothing. How can that be done? I have to pay my property taxes. I live right across the street, a little 1,200 square foot house. My taxes went up over 300% 2 years ago. But he's getting away, this property going up in value, no taxes paid. How can he do that, a convicted felon? And who's going to pay the $127,000? Where does that come from?
I would say that goes to something or goes into abandoned property, then goes on a tax thing. What? I'm speaking. Go ahead.
We're taking their comments.
Yes, I'm
and then
sorry,
we'll come
Mr.
back and
Poland.
respond to them.
Okay. Anything else?
No,
Are you for what's going on,
I'm
though?
all for it.
Okay.
I'm glad it'll be taken care of. Like I said, it's such an eyesore. I mean, it's been there over 20 years. It just junk. You know, he doesn't take care of it. But I am so glad it'll be taken over.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Anyone else? I don't know if the petitioner can even answer that
Well,
question.
just don't speculate.
Okay. I'm just taking the chance to think about it. Any other comments? Hearing none, no other comments, we will close it. Oh, anybody on remote? Have any questions or comments, pro or con? Anyone on remote? Hearing none, I close the period of public comments. Petitioner, do you feel comfortable answering that question?
Actually, Mr. Kozlowski, if you could step up, because we have to also get some information into the record, okay?
Okay.
So can you speak to the outreach that you did at our request in the neighborhood?
We did, and that was also the mayor's request. We started out, and this was the recommendation from staff, that we talk to the mayor about the project. And so Leslie and Denise had that meeting. It went very well, and his recommendation was, make sure you get out to the neighbors. This is where we found Ken. I think it was maybe it was at least a few weeks, maybe a month before we sent out the official notice. We sent out an unofficial notice to everyone that we knew we would have to send official notice to, and then hand delivered the notices to the neighbors. I think there was, I think staff had received one comment regarding parking and maybe some other negative comments.
We will talk about that. I just
all right.
want you to explain your side of it.
So we did, and again, your recommendation in conjunction with the mayor, so we did that.
Okay, basically, are you able to answer his question from?
Wait, Kathy, I'm trying to
Okay.
establish something here.
All right.
Okay. So, for the record, when you sent the letters, hand-delivered or whatever
Yeah.
you did to them,
Yeah.
did you get any responses specifically from that delivery?
Yeah, and I would have to say Ken's response was in response to that.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I just want to get that clarified. So also, just for the record, we received 2 calls from, I guess would have been after the certified letters went out. We received 2 calls. We met with one of them and explained everything to her, and she seemed to be satisfied with our answers. And then, Tom, you took another phone call from a gentleman.
It was Ken, yes.
Oh, it was Ken.
Yes. One of the 2 calls we received was, yeah.
Okay, and so we have the documentation in the file as to who they were, so we can put that into the official record.
And what were their concerns?
I believe I answered that.
Yeah, the one lady had traffic concerns and conduct of the tenants concerns and density concerns, things like that. And, if they'd be able to complete the project, things like that. And she did take a look at the plans and.
Okay, so going back to the question that was posed that I'm not sure if you can answer. I'm getting and you can clarify this. So I'm understanding that this, for whatever reason that we can't necessarily answer, this property is in a tax exempt status and is not paying taxes. So you've double-checked that, and there are no back taxes looming out there on the
Right.
property?
When we go to closing, the property, it will go through a title company. And so if there are any tax liens or anything like that, those will all have to be paid off. We're only going to accept this property with clean title. So I can't speak to what organizations or what government entities might have a lien against that property, but whatever it will be, we won't take title to it until those matters are cleared up or paid with the proceeds.
Right, and that's just a normal process?
That's the normal process,
of
whether.
going through purchase?
Right.
Okay.
So basically, right now, it's a rental type thing, or you, have
No,
you got
we're not
finance?
there, no. We just have a purchase contract and that's it. We have
you
no
haven't-
rights to the property.
So you haven't dealt with any bank as far as getting as far as a
We
mortgage
did,
or
we did.
anything like
They
that?
have the financing in order, the petitioner has financing in order. What was the bank, Leslie? People's Bank is going to finance the purchase.
Okay.
And you know, got a number of volunteers like myself and to some extent Bruce, and in the construction trade. Leslie and her husband are in the construction trade. And so that's the kind of group effort that's going to be able to get this thing taken care of.
Well, I would think the bank itself, when you've dealt with it, would know if there was a lien or anything.
That's right, that's right. That's exactly correct. They will look at it independently of us, and they will not lend on it unless their collateral is secure. All right.
Any other questions from board members? Any other questions or comments from the staff?
No.
All right, we ready to go into as far as the staff report?
Yes. So just for the record, I do want to make a correction in the staff report regarding the number of parking spaces that was identified by Mr. Kozlowski. It is 22, not 19. That is in 2 locations on the staff report where that was incorrect number. And would you like me to go ahead with the recommendation?
You or,
Would you?
yes, please
Okay,
do.
all right. I'm just making sure. All right, so staff's recommendation is that, or staff has reviewed the petitioner's request and recommends that the BZA grant the conditional use, striking the word permit, should the board feel the petitioner has met the standards subject to conditions. 1, the facility will be limited to 24 residents. 2, the submittal and technical review and final approval of the project site civil plan by city staff prior to the issue of permits, and the petitioner shall make any changes requested thereof. Receipt of the state construction design release for the repair replacement of the existing 6-foot tall fence along, that should say the rear perimeter of the property. Compliance of the City of Hammond Municipal Code, Chapter 97, regarding to the noise ordinances, and then 94, 98, 101, 132, 150, 160, and our particular sections reinforcing litter, junk, trash, receptacles, snow removal, and the harboring of a public nuisance as to maintain a safe and sanitary, aesthetically pleasing property. I also want to point out into the record, it was in the staff report earlier, we kind of glossed over a little bit. The Plan Commission at its last meeting did a determination on what the appropriate parking ratio would be for community residents. This is the first time we've really dealt with community residences since this ordinance was added 20-odd years ago. And based on the parking requirements that were established, it is 1 car per resident. And then there is a series of administrative conditions in which the staff can reduce the amount of parking. And that is primarily, the 2 most important is that you have a van for the residents, and that they have their restriction on who can have a car. So in that sense, that the 22 parking spaces is more than adequate based on that ratio. So there was no need for formal parking variance because it was handled as an administrative variance.
Any questions in regard to the staff report and the recommendations?
I do have a question. Number 3, can we adjust that to also include Indiana Department of Health or add item 7?
Or is that automatically done?
I have no objections to making that as an amendment to number 3 in the staff reports. For clarity, I think it's be automatically done, but for the record, I think your point is well taken, that we will amend number 3 to say, and the Department of Health.
I've been down this road for a long time, and it's really important to protect the residents and the staff, make sure that everybody's looking at this project. Please. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, comments, or recommendations? All right, we have the proposed findings of fact presented by the staff. Any changes, any recommendations, any other comments? Hearing none, do we have, a motion to adopt the staff report as amended and with the additional comments made into it and the proposed findings of fact as presented into the record?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. We have a roll call vote, please.
Cynthia Hassel,
Yes.
Dan Faulkner,
Yes.
Roger Brock,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes?
5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Okay, we have.
Thank you, Board.
We're not done yet.
We're
Hold
not
on.
done yet. Now, one more thing before you guys leave, unless you don't want to hear about it. Do we have a motion in regard to approve or deny the conditional use for Z-24-10 for community residents in a R1U district? We have a motion to approve? With the conditions and
I'll second.
the changes, okay? And we have a second. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Cynthia Hassel,
Yes.
Dan Faulkner,
Yes.
Roger Brock,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes.
5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Now you may leave. And as a board member, once you get things going and everything's approved with the taxes and the things, could you please let this office know, since you are a 501c3 organization, where donations can be accepted?
I'm sure
you.
she will. Go ahead, Leslie, if you want to speak to that. Just say your thank yous for donating.
And good luck.
Thank you
And
so
keep up- And
much.
keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. It's really hard to herd cats, and to have the girls in one place would be so much easier. Thank you so much for considering us. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate it. It's been a long road, and I'm sure that there's more to come, but thank you so much.
You're doing the hard part.
Thank you.
All right, any commissioner comments? Just welcome to Mr. Faulkner. Any staff comment?
Tom, we have things for the next meeting?
Potentially, we may have an event space. We may have a single-family residence on a sub-minimum lot. There's a couple that may be coming up in October, yes.
Okay, and then the date of that meeting, just so we all know for sure?
Let's see.
Nothing's been going on too much with your place, has it?
October 29th.
Okay.
October 29th.
October 29th, and then just as a reminder, in particular to our new member, when it comes to November, still Cynthia too, in November, for November and December, we combine those meetings to the first Tuesday of December, because those fall at our holidays.
And if that's not good, let them, you know as soon as possible.
And then, Dan, we'll have to set up a time, and I can get you a lot of documents and basic training stuff, just because of the quickness of your appointment, we haven't really had a chance to do that. So I'll try and work with your schedule and have that sit down with you.
Talk to your dad, too.
What's that?
Talk to your dad.
Oh,
You know a lot. All right. Public comment. All right.
No, I'm telling you.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Have a nice evening. So we should have a meeting at the end of October.
Yeah.